New comic book day is right around the corner, so it's time to take a look at the books on my pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the pull list. It's my weekly video where I take a look at all the books coming out. We're going to look and see what's on my pull list, what's on the chopping block, and I'll even talk about some new series debuts that should be on your radar for this week of New Comics, Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. Yes, New York Comic Con Eve is still a great new comic book day. There are a lot of books to go over. What's funny is I was going to kind of skip this new comic book day. Like, I wasn't even going to go into the shop because I don't need to spend any more money. I need to wait until after New York Comic Con and spend my money then. But I gotta walk into Fight or Flight Comics this Wednesday to get the book that I'm most excited about. Speaking of, though, Fight or Flight Comics is located in Raleigh in the Triangle Town Center Mall, first floor. If you go in through the food court entrance, make a left, you'll see it just past Hollister. They've done a great job of arranging the store. So when you first walk in, you'll see the newest releases and some stuff for the kiddos. As you walk deeper into the store, you'll find the graphic novels, the newest trade paperbacks and hardcover offerings from the big two and all the indies. And then if you go even deeper into the store, that's where you'll find the toys and action figures and statues and even more graphic novels and really, really fun stuff. So head into the shop, let Dan, Casey, Emily, Jack, or even Max know that I sent you, and you'll get even cooler treatment. Now, if you start a pull list with Fight or Flight Comics, you'll get 10% off every purchase you make in the store in perpetuity, or at least as long as you have a pull list. So check them out. Let them know I sent you. And now let's talk about the reason I'm walking into this shop on Wednesday before I prepare to fly out of the state for New York Comic Con. And that is Batman and Robin Year 1, issue number 1. This is written by Mark Waid with, get this, art by Chris Samnee. Now, you might know Chris Samnee from Firepower, which is where I first saw his work. If you're a little bit older in the comic hobby, you might remember Daredevil by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. And I think Chris Samnee did some stuff on Black Widow. Chris Samnee's done a bunch of stuff. Janae and the Impossible Monsters. Anyway, a bunch of stuff. What I love about Chris Samnee is his art style. I think he just won like the best penciler inker, maybe like a couple years ago at the Eisners. Very, very much well-deserved. I think he was nominated this year for Firepower. I don't know if he got it or not, but again, a well-deserved nomination. But I've been really wanting to see Chris Samnee on a Batman book ever since I started following him on Twitter. Every October, he does this thing called Battober instead of Inktober, where all of his daily sketch prompts are Batman related. And man, the things that man can do with just some ink and I guess a pencil underdrawing are just amazing. Like, they just look great. And again, if the work that you saw from him on Firepower wasn't enough, those Inktober sketches are enough to get you excited about anything Batman that man is doing. And of course, he's doing Batman and Robin Year 1 with Mark Waid, who, if you are going to ask me who needs to write the definitive story, a definitive origin for any character, Mark Waid takes the crown. Mark Waid just gets superheroes on the most basic and fundamental levels. He did Superman Birthright, which is still my favorite Superman origin story. He's done so many. He's done Fantastic Four. He's done all kinds of superhero work. There's not a superhero that Mark Waid has touched, or hasn't touched, I should say. And everything that Mark Waid has ever written, I have loved. Batman, Superman, World's Finest. When I dip into it, I love it. The Absolute Power stuff that he just finished, love that. He's about to be doing Justice League Unlimited, and he's doing Batman and Robin Year 1. That man is doing a lot, and he's great at it. So keep it coming. Batman and Robin Year 1 out this week. Cover price on this is just $3.99. And I thought it was a typo. I thought I got it wrong. No, it is really just $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And since we're talking about DC Comics, let's keep it moving with Action Comics issue 1071, also written by Mark Waid, this time with art by Clayton Henry. This is a weekly story called Phantoms, and I don't need this to come out every week, but it is what it is, I guess. There was like a crack in the Phantom Zone. A creature escaped, and we're like, wait, what is happening? And what we find is that the prisoners in the Phantom Zone are somehow being oppressed, and Superman can't stand for oppression, so he's gonna venture into the Phantom Zone to free them of whatever this ailment is, even as they remain in prison, presumably. Now, somebody going into a world to save all the people who hate his guts seems crazy, but if you're gonna take the whole like superhero messiah thing to the max, then there you go. There's a metaphor for you to read into it. Anyway, Action Comics issue 1071, part 2 of this Phantom storyline. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the DC Comics pull list for me is Green Lantern issue number 16. Now remember, during this month and next month, basically all these DC titles are getting brand new jumping in points. We are going all in, and Green Lantern is no different. So last week we had the Green Lantern Civil Core special, and now we're getting thrust into the Green Lantern title proper, which is written by Jeremy Adams with art by Zermanico. And I can't say enough about this creative team. They make this book exciting, even as I'm not a big Hal Jordan fan. But with the Civil Core special, what we're finding is that basically all the local core, Earth-based lanterns, if you will, are kind of banding together, and this is going to become more of an ensemble book. So I'm very excited to see how Hal and John and Guy and Sojourner and whoever else, as they all start to interact, how they share this load, share this burden, and how they sort of save the Earth from the United Planets as the storyline starts to progress. Cover price on issue 16, again, a great jumping in point, is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on my DC Comics pull list is Nightwing, issue 118. This is the end of an era. Nightwing by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo, I feel, was a revelation. When they jumped in the scene with issue 78 of Nightwing, Nightwing was in a bad place, and, they very much brought back the excitement to Nightwing. Between Tom Taylor's sort of heartfelt storytelling and Bruno Redondo just being super experimental with the layouts and his portion of the storytelling with the art, it's just been really good. I do feel like narratively, like just as far as the plot, it kind of lost steam after a while. I felt like it was just kind of meddling for a bit. But the Fallen Grayson storyline kind of has been aiming to put a nice bow on things, give Dick Grayson a nice mountain to climb, so to speak, to end the run on a high note. And it's been dope. It's been dope. I'm kind of going to be sad to see this series go, but I am also kind of excited to see what direction a new writer takes Nightwing to. Cover price on issue 118, the end of the run, is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the DC Comics pull list for me this week is Wonder Woman, issue 14. Wonder Woman, written by Tom King, art by Daniel Sampere. This, again, being another jumping in point post Absolute Power. And I can't lie. I'm like kind of skeptical on how this is going to be a good jumping in point. Before we got interrupted for Absolute Power, we had this whole storyline with the Sovereign and like sort of mind control and the father of lies sort of having a big influence on America, and the Amazons being like, outlawed and all this stuff. And all that is still happening. We kind of cold turkey stopped that to do Absolute Power. How are we going to jump in and make everything that's happening fresh for a new reader? I don't know. I'd recommend that you just go back to the run and read from issue 1 onward. But also, they say it's a good jumping in point, so we'll see. Maybe I'll review it in a community post for those of you who are wanting to know if this actually is a good jumping in point. What I will say, though, is I was loving this book before they interrupted it for Absolute Power, so hopefully it keeps bringing the heat. Daniel Sampere's art, it's beautiful. But anyway, we're resuming the story. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it. Those are the DC Comics on the pull list this week. If I stick to the list, those are going to cost me $5, $10, $15, $24 this week. Now, let's go ahead over to the House of Ideas and see what Marvel Comics has popping on the pull list this week. Gotta tell you, there's a whole lot of spiders going on, starting with Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 25. Miles Morales Spider-Man, written by Cody Ziegler, art by Federico Vincentini, has been my favorite Spider-Man book in the 616 continuity. There we go. I very much love this book, and this is the book that has solidified my stance that I think Miles is my Spider-Man. Like, right now in ongoing comics, I could care less about Peter in most situations, but this Miles Morales run is so compelling. The only knock against this run is that it is constantly interrupted by different events and crossovers, whether it's in the Spider Office or the greater Marvel Universe. We had the Carnage Reigns, and then we had Gang War, and we had Blood Hunt, and before that we had like a Random Blade crossover. There's been a lot of sort of story interruptions in this run. What I love about it, though, is that post Blood Hunt, Cody Ziegler has found a way to use the new status quo for Miles and cause it to challenge his character even more while doing what he's been doing in the overall run in a stellar way. And that is having Miles learn from basically like every other Black superhero at Marvel, starting with Misty Knight. We've had run-ins with Monica Rambeau and even the Falcon and Blade. And in this issue, it looks like Black Panther is the only person that can really help Miles with his current status quo. And so we're going to get a new suit, a Vibranium suit. And some people think that's creatively bankrupt. Shout out to my man Shine Comics. I don't think so. I think if you're reading the run and you can see, this pattern, like I've just highlighted, that Miles is learning from like all these other heroes that have come before him, and you see like how each different hero, or I guess anti-hero in Blade's case, gives him a new perspective on superheroics and how he brings that back to his family. Even the way he shows restraint within his fighting, I'm like, this book is the stuff of legend. I hope that Cody Ziegler gets all 50 issues that he has stated he wants in this run. This will be a good halfway point, if so. Cover price on issue 25 is $4.99. And my bad, I should do a dedicated Miles Morales video. I haven't had the time, so I keep cramming all my thoughts into these weekly reviews. We'll talk about Miles more, I promise. $4.99, I'm grabbing cover A. There is a 1 in 10 design variant, though, that if it wasn't a ratio, I'd definitely buy it. You should check for that one, too. Next up is the first contender on the chopping block this week, and that is the Spectacular Spider-Men, issue number 8. It's written by Greg Weisman with art by Humberto Ramos, and you guys know I followed it through the entire first story arc, like just trying to give it a chance to come together and see what it's going to be. And overall, Spectacular Spider-Man has been fine. I think in a world where there are like 8 Spider books, you either need this and not much else, or you don't need this. It's kind of one or the other, in my opinion. This book, what I will say is it's fun. And Humberto Ramos on the art is just a treat. But I feel like I've said this in some instances as like a superlative, as a compliment, right? Like this is a book that really should be an animated series, right? In some instances, I'm like, man, I can just feel this. This will be great as an animated project. For this, I feel like it's the writing style, which Greg Weisman, obviously coming from television animation, on a series probably most notably or most relevant to this conversation called Spectacular Spider-Man. There are certain quirks that come with this writing, specifically on this title. There are cut scenes, and there are like surprise appearances from different characters, and there are different cutaways and in-universe jokes, and all of these different things that I feel would land better in an animated series of some type, right? Like this would do better with like a musical score and like jump cuts and, all of the different nonverbal cues that you can have in an animated series. Like if this was even animated like that Harley Quinn show that we see, it would be really, really cool. Or even that Ultimate Spider-Man series that's on Disney Plus. Like a lot of the stuff that's in here that doesn't quite work for me would work really well in that added context. But as just a standalone comic from month to month, I'm like, it's not really doing it for me. So I'm going to drop this series. I'll pick it back up in trade paperbacks, and I'll let you know how I like it reading it chunks at a time. Anyway, that was a long explanation as to why this book is on the chopping block, but by not picking it up, I'm going to save $4 this week. And we're still over budget. Spoiler alert. Next up on the pull list is Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 10. If you're going to read a Peter Parker book, it's got to be this one. And I don't even care that it's not the main universe. This book by Jonathan Hickman with art by Marco Cacchetto is just amazing. It is great. Well, I guess it's not amazing. It's ultimate. Amazing is a different book. But I have just loved Ultimate Spider-Man. We're seeing the threads. We're seeing Peter Parker and Harry Osborn sort of come to a difference in ideologies and how they should go about their crime fighting. We're seeing this world built out with Kingpin and his Sinister Six that he has formed. This is really, 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 really good stuff. And if you haven't jumped in, grab the first trade paperback, and then that'll take you through issue 6, and then grab the rest of the series. Like, just do it. The whole Ultimate Universe is must-see TV or must-read comics. Cover price on Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 10 is $4.99, and I love this homage to Alex Ross's Marvels cover back in the day. But that's the one I'm grabbing. Next up is Uncanny XMen issue number 4. Uncanny X-Men, written by Gail Simone with art by David Marquez. I'm buying it, and no, I'm not caught up. My problem with Uncanny X-Men is my problem with the X-Men office in general. There are too many books coming out too frequently. Tom Brevoort, to be fair, has said, you don't need every book. You don't need to follow everything. Just pick your favorite and follow that. But even my favorites are coming out like too often for me to keep up. As somebody who reviews comics and tries to read stuff from week to week, month to month, man, sometimes I hate to see a new comic book Wednesday coming, but whatever, such is life. Uncanny X-Men number 4, as soon as I get caught up, I'll let you know how I feel about it. Cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on my Marvel pull list this week is Wolverine, issue number 2. Wolverine, written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Martin Kokolo, if I'm not mistaken. This book took me by surprise. It was actually on the radar last month. I wasn't even going to buy it, but I'm glad I bought it. Wolverine is in this sort of ice environment. I don't know if he's in Alaska or where he's at, but he's in the woods. There's somebody from his past coming to hunt him, of course. He's being sprung into action. Of course, he doesn't want to be Wolverine, doesn't want to be in action right now, but you keep calling him back. You play with the Wolverine, you're going to get the claws. And so that's what we got. And like I said, I enjoyed issue 1 enough to stick around for issue 2. I hadn't read a bunch of Saladin Ahmed before, but I'm digging what he's putting down here. Cover price on this is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's going to do it. Those are the Marvel comics on the pull list for me this week. Sticking to the list, those 4 books are going to cost me $20. As we skip on over to the indies, I've got quite a few indie comics. Actually, just a few indie comics, but I am over budget this week. So let's keep it going with Flash Gordon, issue number 3. Flash Gordon, written by Jeremy Adams, art by Will Conrad, colors by Lee Lowridge. And I don't always shout out colorists. I should. But I've been trying to take note of okay, who are the colorists that I really love in this game right now? Brian Valenza's on that list. Lee Lowridge is on that list. Tamara Bonvillain is on that list. Alejandro Sanchez is on that list. And I'll find a 5th eventually. But it's got to be Mike Spicer. Mike Spicer is definitely the one that rounds out that list. Anyway, just the more you read comics, the more you appreciate little things, and the coloring in this book specifically, and Jeremy Adams' Flash Gordon, has been really good, and I wanted to make note of it. This is one of those books where it's not just, find the color palette that works well for the scene. You've got all these different creatures and different colors, there's a horse type alien thing that's purple, and I don't know, when people can be so imaginative, it's just dope. It's just dope. Shout out to Rico Renzi as well. But anyway, Flash Gordon. I've really been enjoying this series. We talked about Jeremy Adams earlier and his ability to just make any character like a compelling character. My first experience with him was on The Flash. Now he's on Flash Gordon. And he does a great job of giving you like nice high action adventure storytelling and giving you heart. It's the same stuff I love about Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor can be a little bit more heart forward. Jeremy Adams is a little bit more action forward, but does not forget the heart. And I really, really appreciate that. Cover price on Flash Gordon #3 is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up, from Dynamite Entertainment is the Powerpuff Girls issue #4. Kelly Thompson did the first 3 issues. This time, we are getting a brand new writer, and that is Paulina Ganuso, who did the art on the first couple of issues. So now she's taken over as the writer. I think she's drawing it as well, but then someone's coloring her. And if that's not the case, I'll correct it in a caption down here. Shout out to Editor Kicks. But anyway, Powerpuff Girls, I had been enjoying it. It's a nice, like, just fun, episodic comic. I forget how stacked the Rogues Gallery for the Powerpuff Girls is. Like, there has not been a single issue where I'm like, oh, this is the villain. This time we're getting Princess Morbucks. I am very excited to figure out, like, when are we getting the Rowdy Rough Boys? I need the Rowdy Rough Boys in a Powerpuff Girls comic at some point for their villain of the week. And then the Amoeba Boys will be cool too. But anyway, cover price on issue 4 is $4.99, and I'm grabbing cover A. And we finally made it to the last book on my pull list this week, and that is The Walking Dead Deluxe issue 99. You already know. I'm buying it because it's The Walking Dead in color with nice cardstock covers and back matter and all the things. And next month, or 2 weeks from now, we're getting issue 100 with 1,000,000 variant covers. But it doesn't matter because every time I buy The Walking Dead Deluxe, I grab the David Finch cover A. Cover price on that one is $3.99, by the way. So those 3 indie comics are going to cost me $14 as long as I stick to the list. And what reason do I have not to? Well, we'll talk about them in just a second. But that brings my grand total up to $58 before taxes, before my 10% subscriber discount. So that means I'll be paying somewhere around $54, $55 for all my books, plus tax and bags and boards and stuff. Not crazy over budget, but over budget nonetheless, in a week that includes New York Comic Con. But even though I'm over budget, we still got to talk about these new series debuts that are on the radar for this Wednesday, October 16th, starting with Batman Full Moon issue #1. It's written by Rodney Barnes with art by Steven Subic, I believe it's how you say his name. And it's Batman fighting a werewolf in Gotham. Like, that sounds cool enough as it is, right? It's got a glow-in-the-dark cover. That sounds cool enough as it is. But as I mentioned a second ago, it's written by Rodney Barnes, who is perhaps one of the premier horror writers of this generation, as a monster of a writer and a mammoth of a man. That dude is tall. But anyway, Rodney Barnes, known for Philadelphia and other horror writings, doing a horror-themed sort of Batman book sounds interesting. I typically lean away from horror, but because this is just a werewolf story, it shouldn't deal like too much with supernatural. It shouldn't have like the surprise scenes that you might find in something like Philadelphia. So I'll keep, one eye open for it. A glow-in-the-dark cover is a great way to get me to buy it, though. Cover price on that is $5.99. Next up, Ice Cream Man Decompression in a Wreck, issue #1. They're doing a deluxe sort of prestige square-bound reprint of issues 39 and 40 of Ice Cream Man by W. Maxwell Prince. I believe art in this is by Martin Morazzo. And it was a 2-part issue that decompresses a car accident. Ice Cream Man is a series that my man Skip and Tosh absolutely loved. And every time I read it, I do find that it's really good and really compelling, but it's also really somber. And so it's not a book that I can take a lot of, at least not in high doses. So like, it's not something you binge read. It's something you pick up every once in a while, and it's dope, in my opinion. It'll make you think. It'll make you feel. And so I'm going to grab this one, I think. Well, I don't know. It's got a $7.99 cover price, but Pretty cool stuff. Next up is, it's not a new number one. They're doing a facsimile edition of Crisis on Infinite Earths, issue number 7, which is just that iconic cover with Superman carrying Supergirl's dead body. Dang, I probably, lifeless body. Make it more poetic, right? Don't demonetize me, YouTube. So that one's out. I think the cover price on that is like $6.99 for that facsimile. Next up, Mystique, issue number 1 from Declan Shalvey. It's written and drawn by Declan Shalvey, which is the reason to buy it. Like, I don't know. Again, I feel like there are too many X books too often, but it doesn't mean they're not doing really cool and compelling things. So Mystique number 1, check it out if you got room in the budget. I'm probably going to wait for a trade paperback. $4.99 on that one. For the Radiant Black fans out there, issues 30 and 30.5 represent the end of the Catalyst War, and those are out this week. I probably should just have waited until issue 31 to shout out Radiant Black, because that theoretically is going to be a new jumping in point, but feels like a cataclysmic event that, should be highlighted. So Radiant Black, $3.99 on each of those. It is important to note that those are 2 separate issues that you got to pay 2 separate cover prices for. Next up, new number 1 from Marvel is Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu, issue number 1. This is a follow-up to the Moon Knight series written by Jed MacKay with art by Alessandro Cappuccio. Same creative team. At this point, we've had the Moon Knight Volume 1, or it's not Volume 1 in like actual comic terms, but Moon Knight by Jed MacKay Volume 1 ran 30 issues. And then that came to an end with things that I won't spoil, even though you probably know. If you know, you know. That was followed up by Vengeance of the Moon Knight, which is I think 9-issue miniseries. And that's wrapping up shortly, or maybe it already wrapped up. And then we've got this Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu, number 1. You got to read Blood Hunt as well. But all you really need to know is that Moon Knight's back in his book. For a while, he wasn't starring in his book, but now he's back in his book, and we got a whole new start. If I'm looking at it like acts, I don't know if this is like Act 2 or Act 3, but the point is, it's more Jed MacKay on Moon Knight. And this is one of those books, you ever like, maybe I'm the only one that's done this, but because I'm going to the comic shop every single week, and there's always like 10 to 12 books on the pull list, you got to make those decisions. And for me, I read 3 issues of Moon Knight, loved the art, enjoyed the story, but I felt like, I don't need to keep up with this the way I need to keep up with the Krakoa era, or the way I need to keep up with, I don't know, Miles Morales or something. And so I dropped it. And then, some time passed. I go on Marvel Unlimited. I start reading more of it. And I'm like, dang, I dropped the wrong book. I should have been reading Moon Knight. This book is awesome. And so now I just got to buy the Moon Knight by Jed MacKay Omnibus, which does collect that entire 30-issue run, plus I think some extras. And then I'll be ready to jump in on Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu, issue number 1 out this week. Cover price is $4.99. And the last book on the radar technically is not a new number 1, but it is a new jumping in point, and it is from DC Comics. It's Titans, issue number 16. We're going all in, which means every book has a jumping in point in October or November. And this month it's Titans' turn to have a new jumping in point. We're picking up in the fallout of Absolute Power and the fact that the Titans couldn't really keep a control on Amanda Waller, and the Justice League kind of had to come in and help save the day. So they got some egg on their face. How are they going to pick up the pieces? How are they going to move on? Well, John Layman and Pete Woods have the answers. Theoretically, I like the Titans. I love Nightwing. I love Cyborg. I love Beast Boy. But something about Tom Taylor's run didn't click for me. And I don't know if I need the Titans on my pull list every month. I'll probably upgrade my DC Universe subscription to the Ultra tier and just start reading some of these all-in titles a month behind. Because once Justice League and Black Lightning and some of the other titles start next month, I'm going to have even more cuts I need to make. So let's not add anything while we're here. But that's it. $3.99 on that, by the way. And those are all the books that are on my radar this week. Goodness knows there is enough of them. There are enough books on the pull list, enough books on the radar. This is a great time to be in comics. And we didn't even talk about the fact that G.I. Joe is about to relaunch next month. Whew, a great time to be a comic fan, a difficult time to be a comic fan. I love it all. I will see you guys at New York Comic Con. I'll be there Friday. I'll be there Saturday. I got a whole lot of running around to do. Watch out on the channel. I got a video coming Thursday morning about just what I plan to do at New York Comic Con so you can get a better feel for my schedule, where I'll be. And if I see you in the Javits Center, say what's up. Or if you see me in the Javits Center, say what's up, because I don't know you. I won't recognize you. But if you know what I look like, say hey. I'll say hey back. I promise. And I'll see you guys in another video soon. Until then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.